Hey, and welcome back to another video. Okay, in this video, we are read the chapter number 8 of Think and Grow, Reached by the Napoleon Hill. And this is the chapter 8. Okay, and that is the topic है कि भाई decision, the mastery of procrastination, the seventh step towards riches. Accurate analysis of over 25,000 men and women who had experienced failure disclosed the fact that lack of decision was near the head of the list of the 30 major causes of the failure. This is no more statement of the theory, it is a fact. Procrastination, the opposite of decision. प्रोकास्टिनेशन है ना और डिसीजन के ऑपोजिट में है ओके पूरा ऑपोजिट and you will have an opportunity to test your capacity to reach quick and definite decisions when you finish reading this book and are ready to begin putting into action the principles which it describes. Analysis of several hundred people who had accumulated fortunes well beyond the $1 million mark disclosed the fact that every one of them had the habit of reaching decisions promptly and the changing these decisions slowly. Even when they were changed, people who failed to accumulate money without exception have the habit of reaching decisions, if at all, very slowly, and of changing these decisions quickly and often. One Henry Ford's most outstanding qualities is his habit of reading decisions quickly and definitely and changing them slowly. This quality is so pronounced in Mr. Ford that it has given him the reputation of being obstinate. It was this quality which prompted Mr. Ford to continue to manufacture his famous Model T, the world's ugliest car. When all of his advisors and many of the purchasers of the car were urging to change it, okay, change it. Perhaps Mr. Ford delayed too long in making the change, but the other side of the story is Mr. Ford's firmness of decision yielded a huge fortune. Therefore, the change in model become necessary. There is but little doubt Mr. Ford's habit of definiteness of decisions assumes the proportion of obstinacy. But this quality is preferable to slowness in reaching decisions and quickness in changing them. Okay? The majority of people who fail to accumulate money sufficient for their needs are generally easily influenced by the opinions of others. They permit the newspaper and the gossiping neighbors to do their thinking for them. Opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has a flock of opinions ready to be wished upon anyone who will accept them. If you are influenced by opinions when you reach decisions, you will not succeed in any undertaking, much less in that of transmuting your own desire into money. Okay, if you are influenced by opinion of others, you will have no desire of your own. Keep your own counsel. When you began to put into practice the principles described here by reaching your own decisions and following them, take no one into your confidence except the members of your mastermind group and be very sure in your selection of this group. This you choose only those who will be the complete sympathy and harmony with your purchase. Close friends and relatives will not meaning to do so often handicap one through opinions and sometimes through practice radical which is meant to be humorous. Thousands of men and women carry inferiority complexes with them all through life because some well-meaning but ignorant person destroyed their confidence through opinions or ridicule. You have a brain and mind of your own. Use it and reach your own decisions. If you need facts or information from other people to enable you to reach decisions, as you probably will in many instances, acquire these facts and secure the information you need quietly without disclosing your purpose. It is characteristics of people who have but a smattering or a veneer of knowledge to try to give the impression that they have, okay, that they have much knowledge. Such people generally to do much talking to little listening. Keep your eyes on and yours wide open and your mouth closed. Okay, if you wish to acquire the uh, habit of prompt decision, those who talk too much do little else. If you talk more than you listen, you not only deprive yourself of many opportunities to accumulate useful knowledge, but you also disclose your plans and purposes to people who will take great delight in defecting you because they envy you. Okay? Remember also that every time you open your mouth in the presence of a person who has an abundance of knowledge, you display to that person your exact stock of knowledge or your lack of it. Genuine wisdom is usually conspicuous through modesty and silence. Keep in mind the fact that every person with whom you associate is like yourself, seeking the opportunity to accumulate uh, money. If you talk about your plans too freely, you may be surprised when you learn that some other person has beaten you to your goal by putting into action ahead of you the plans of which you talked unwisely. Let one of your first decisions to be keep closed mouth and open ears and eyes as a reminder to yourself to follow this advice. It will be helpful if you copy the following epigram in large letters and place it where you will see it daily. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first sow it. What do you do, but first sow it? This is the equivalent of saying that deeds or not words are what count most. Second is Second is freedom or death on a decision. The value of decisions depends upon the courage required to render them. The great decisions which served as the foundation of civilization were reached by assuming great risks, which often meant the possibility of death. Lincoln's decision to issue his famous proclamation of the Emancipation, which gave freedom to the colored people of America, was rendered with full understanding that his act would turn thousands of friends and political supporters against him. He knew too that the carrying out of the proclamation would mean death or to thousands, okay, of men on the battlefield. In the end, it cost Lincoln his life. The required courage. Socrates' decision to drink the cup of poison rather than compromise in his personal belief was a decision of courage. It turns time ahead 1,000 years and gave to people them unborn, the right to freedom of thought and speech. The decision of John Robert E. Lee when he came to the parting of a whip with the Union and took off the cause of the South was a decision of courage, for he well knew that it might cost him his own life, that it would be surely cost the lives of others, but the greatest decision of all time, as far as any American citizen is concerned, was reached in Philadelphia, July 4, 1776, when 56 men signed their names to a document which they well knew would bring freedom to all Americans and leave every one of the 56 hanging from a gallows. You have heard of this famous document, but you may not have drawn from it to the great lesson in personal achievement. It is painfully taught. We all remember the date of this momentous decision, but few of us realize what courage that decision required. We remember our history as it was told. We remember dates and the names of the men who fought. We remember Raleigh Ford and Yorktown. We remember George Washington and Lord Cornwallis. But we know little of the real forces back of these names, dates, and the place. We know still less of that intangible power which ensured us freedom long before Washington's armies reached Yorktown. We read the history of the revolution and falsely imagine that George Washington was the father of our country, that it was he who owned our freedom. When the truth is, Washington was only an accessory after the fact, because victory for his armies had been ensured long before Lord Cornwallis surrendered. This is not intended to rob Washington of any of the glory he so richly merited. Its purpose, rather, is to give greater attention to the outstanding power that was the real cause of his victory. It is nothing short the tragedy that the writers of history have missed entirely, even the slightest reference to the irresistible power which gave birth and the freedom to the nation destined to set of new standards of independence for all the people of the earth. I say it is a tragedy because it is the self same power which must be used by every individual who surmounts the difficulties of life and forces life to pay the price asked. Let us briefly review the events which gave birth to this power. The story begins with an incident in Boston, March 5, 1770. British soldiers were patrolling the streets by their presence openly threatening the citizens. The colonists resented armed men marching in their midst. They began to express their resentment openly, hurling stones as well as epithets at the marching soldiers until the commanding officer gave orders, fix, pay no, pay one honors charge. The battle was on. It resulted in the death and injury of many. Incident aroused such resentment that the provincial assembly, made of the prominent colonists, called a meeting for the purpose of taking definite action. Two of the members of the assembly were John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Long live their names, they spoke of courageously and declared that a mob move must be made to eject all British soldiers from Boston. Remember this a decision in the minds of two men might properly be called the beginning in the freedom which we of the United States now enjoys. Remember, too, that the decision of these two men called for faith and courage because it was dangerous. Before the assembly adjourned, Samuel Adams was appointed to call the governor of the province Hutchinson and demand the withdrawal of the British troops. The request was granted. The troops were removed from Boston, but the incident was not closed. It had caused a situation destined to change the entire trend of civilization. Strange is it not how the great changes, such as American Revolution and the world war often have their beginnings in circumstances which seem unimportant. It is interesting also to observe that these important changes usually begin in the form of definite decision in the minds of a relatively small number of people. Few of us know the history of our country well enough to realize that John Hancock, Samuel Adams, and Richard Henry Lee of the province of Virginia were the real fathers of our country. Okay, Richard Henry Lee he become an important factor in this story by reason of the fact that he and Samuel Adams communicated frequently by correspondence, sharing freely their fears and their hopes concerning the welfare of the people of their province. From the practice, Adams conveys the idea that a mutual exchange of letters between the 13 colonies might help to bring about the coordination of effort so badly needed in connection with the solution of their problems. 2 years after, clash with the soldiers in Boston, March 72, Adams presented this idea to the assembly in the form of a motion that a correspondence committee be established among the colonies with definitely appointed correspondents in each colony for the purpose of friendly cooperation for the betterment of the colonies of British America. Mark well this incident. It was the beginning of organization of the far-flung power destined to give freedom to you and to me. The mastermind had already been organized. It consisted of Adams, Lee, and Hancock. I tell you further that if two of you agree upon the earth concerning anything for which you ask, it will come to you from my Father who is in heaven. The committee of correspondence was organized, observed that this move provided the way for increasing the power of the mastermind by adding to it men from all the colonies. Take notice that this procedure constituted the organized planning and the disgruntled colonists in the Union there is a strength. The citizens of the colonies had been waging disorganized war, warfare against the British soldiers through incidents similar to the Boston riot, but nothing of benefit had been accomplished. Their individual grievance had not been consolidated under one mastermind. No group of individuals had put their hearts, minds, souls, and bodies together in one definite decision to settle the difficulty with the British once and for all until Adam, Hancock, and Lee got together. Meanwhile, the British were not idle. They too were doing some planning and masterminding on their own account with the advantage of having baked off the money and organized soldiery. The crown appointed Gage to supplant Hutch, Hutchinson as the governor of Massachusetts. One of the new governor's first acts was to send a messenger to call the Samuel Adam for the purpose and endeavoring to stop his opposition by fear. We can best understand the spirit of what happened by quoting the conversation between Colonel Fenton, the messenger sent by Judge and Adams. Colonel Fenton, I have been authorized by Governor Gage to assure you, Mr. Adams, that the governor had been empowered to confer upon you such benefits as would be satisfactory endeavor to with win Adams by promise of bribes upon the condition that you engage to ease in your opposition to the measures of government. It is the government's advice to you, sir, not to inquire the further displeasure of His Majesty, your conduct has been such as makes you liable to penalties of an empty of Henry VIII, by which person can be sent to England for trial for the treason or misprision of treason at the discretion of a governor of a province. But by changing your political course, you will not only receive great personal advantages, but you will make your peace with the king. Samuel Adams had the choice two decisions. He could choose his opposition and receive personal bribes, and he could continue and run the risk of being hanged. Clearly, the time had come when Adam was forced to reach instantly a decision which could have cost his life. The majority of men would have found it difficult to reach such a decision. The majority would have said Peck and Evasi's reply, but not Adams. He insisted upon Colonel Fenton's word of honor that the colonel would deliver to Governor answer exactly as Adams would give it to him. Adams answered, then you may tell Governor Guess that I trust I have long since made my peace with the King of Kings. No personal consideration shall induce me to abandon the righteous cause of country and tell Governor Gage it is the advice of Samuel Adams to him no longer to insult the feelings of an exasperated people. Comment as to the character of this man seems unnecessary. It must be obvious to all who read this outstanding message that its sender possessed loyalty of the highest order. This is important. Racketeers and the dishonest politicians have prostituted the honor for which such men as Adams died. When Governor Gage received Adams' caustic reply, he flew into rage and issued a proclamation which read, I do hereby in His Majesty's name offer and promise His most gracious pardon to all persons who shall forthwith lay down their arms and return to the duties of peaceful subjects, accepting only from the benefit of such pardon Samuel Adam and John Hancock, whose offenses are of too flagitious a nature to admit of any other consideration but that too of condition punishment. As one might say, in modern slang, Adams and Hancock were won the spot. The threat of irate governor forced two men to reach another decision equally as dangerous. They hurriedly called a secret meeting of their staunchest followers. Here, the mastermind began to take a momentum after the meeting had been called to order. Adams locked the door, placed the key in his pocket, and informed all present that it was imperative that a congress of colonists be organized, that no man should leave the room until the decision for such a congress had been reached. Great excitement followed, some with the possible consequences of the radicalism old men fear, and some expressed grave doubt as to the wisdom of so definite a decision in defiance of the crown. Locked in the room were two men immune to fear, blind to possibility of failure, Hancock and Adams. Through the influence of their minds, the others were induced to agree that through the correspondence committee, arrangements should be made for a meeting of the First Continental Congress to the bed okay, to the bed that past meeting first Continental Congress to be held in Philadelphia, September 5, 1774. Remember this date. It is the more important than July 4, 1776. If there had been no decision to hold a Continental Congress, there could be been no singing of Declaration of Independence. Before the first meeting of the new Congress, another leader in a different section of the country was deep in the throes of publishing a summary view of the rights of British America. He was Thomas Jefferson of the province of Virginia, who relationship to Lord Dunmore, representative of Durham, okay, Virginia, whose representative the crown in the Virginia, was the strain as that of Hancock and Adams with their governor. Shortly after his famous summary of rights was published, Jefferson was informed that he was subject to prosecution for high treason against His Majesty's government. Inspired by the threat, one of the Jefferson's colleagues, Patrick Henry, boldly spoke his mind, concluding his remarks with a sentence which shall remain forever a classic. It will, okay, thread, speaking minds, including his remarks with sentence which shall remain forever, concluding his remarks with the sentence which shall remain forever, a classic. If this be treason, then make the most of it. It was such men as these who, without power, without authority, without military strength, without money, and sat in solemn consideration of the density. It was such a man who did, who without power, without authority, without a military strength, without money, sat in solemn consideration of the destiny of the colonies, beginning at the opening of the first Continental Congress and continuing at opening interval for 2 years until the June 7, 76 Richard Henry Lee arose addressed the chair and to the startling assembly made this motion. Gentlemen, I make the motion that these united colonies are and of right out to be free and independent states, that they be absolved from the allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and out to be totally dissolved. This outstanding motion was discussed frequently and at such length that he began to lose patience. Finally, after days of argument, he again took the floor and declared in a clear, firm voice, Mr. President, we have discussed this issue for days. It is the only course for us to follow. Why then, sir, do we longer delay? Why still deliberate? Let this happy day give birth to an American republic. Let her rise to go, okay, rise to go and arise not to devastate and the conquer, but to reestablish the region of peace and of love. The eyes of Europe are fixed us. She demands of us all for freedom that may exhibit a contrast in the felicity of a citizen to the ever increasing uh, tyranny. Before his motion was finally voted upon, Lee was called back to Virginia because of serious family illness. But before leaving, he placed his cause in his hands of our friend. But before uh, leaving, he placed his cause in the hands of his friend Thomas Jefferson, who promised to fight until mm, leaving Jefferson, who promised to fight until favorable action was taken. Shortly thereafter, the President of the Congress, Hancock, appointed Jefferson as chairman of a committee to draw up a declaration of independence. Long and hard, the committee labored on a document which would mean okay document which means accepted that by Congress that every man who signed it would be singing his own death or end should the colonists lose his lose, okay warrant should the colonists lose in the fight with Great Britain was sure to follow. A document was drawn and June 28, the original draft was read before the Congress for several days. It was discussed, altered, and made ready on July 4, 1776. Thomas Jefferson stood before the assembly and fearlessly read the most documents decisions. Okay, movements ever placed upon paper. When in the course of human events it is necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have the community. Okay. One people dissolve the political bands which have connoted them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God enter them. Okay, another assume connoted on the earth separate. Okay, uh, talked upon. Jefferson Finn's document was voted when course. Okay, ये तो complete हो गए थे. Yet equal station to which the laws of nature, okay, and of nature's God entitle them a decent respect to the opinions of the mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. When Jefferson finished, the document was voted upon, accepted, and signed by the 56 men, everyone taking his own life upon his decision. To write his name by the decision came into existence, a nation destined to bring to mankind forever the privilege of making decisions. By decision made in a smaller spirit, a similar spirit of faith, and only by such decisions and and can move, solve their personal problems, and win for themselves high state of material and spiritual wealth. Let us not forget this. Analyze the events which led to the Declaration of Independence and convince that this nation, which now holds independence, and be convinced that this nation, which now holds a position of commanding respect and power among all nations of the world, was born of a decision mind consisting of 66 men, 56 men, not all the fact that it was their decision which ensured the success of Washington armies because the spirit of the decision was in the heart of every soldier who fought with him and served as a spiritual power which recognized no such thing as failure not also with great personal benefit, the power which gave this nation its freedom. It is the self same power that must be used by every individual who becomes self determining. This power is made of the principles described in the book I will not be difficult to detect in the story of the Declaration of Independence. At least six of these principles desire, decision, faith, persistence, and the mastermind organized planning. Throughout this philosophy will be found the suggestion that thought backed by strong desire has a tendency to transmute itself into its physical equivalent. Before passing on, I wish to leave with you the suggestion that one may find in this story and in the story of organization of the United States Steel Cooperation, a परफेक्ट होना चाहिए in your organized cooperation, perfect description of the method by which thought make this outstanding transformation. In your search for the secret of method, do not look for a miracle because you will not find it. You will find only the eternal laws of nature. These laws are available to every person who has the faith and the courage to use them. They may be used to bring freedom to a nation, faith and courage to them. They may have placed the players and according to them, they may be used to bring freedom to a nation or the accumulate riches. There is no church save the time necessary to understand the appropriate them. Those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want and generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. Okay. Hmm. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि habit making and the leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That is the major reason why they are leaders. The world has the habit of making room for the man whose words and actions so that he knows where he is going. Indecision is a habit which usually begins in youth. The habit takes on permanency as the youth goes through graded school. Hmm. High school and even through college without definiteness of purpose. The major weakness of all educational system is that they neither teach or nor encourage the habit of definiteness is this decision. It would be beneficial to would permit a college to enrollment of any student unless it would until the student declare his major purpose of matriculating. It would be a still greater benefit if every student who enters the graded schools were compelled to every mm, enters the graded schools and compelled in enter the habits and forced to pass a satisfactory examination on this subject before being columnist. Matriculating, it would be still greater benefit if every student who enters the graded schools were compelled to accept training in the habit of decision and forced to pass a satisfactory examination on this subject before being permitted in advance in the grades. In habit of indecision, occurred because of the deficiencies of our school system goes with the student into the occupation he chooses. If in fact he chooses his occupation, generally the youth just out of school seeks any job that can be found. He takes the first place he finds because he has fallen into the habit of indecision. 98 out of the every 100 people working for wages today are the positions they hold because they lacked the definiteness of the decision to plan a definite position and the knowledge of how to choose an employer. Definiteness of decision always requires courage, sometimes very great courage. The 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence started their life. Hmm. Signed Declaration of Independence tagged their lives on the decision to affix their signature to the document. The person who stacked labs decision, affix the signatures to the document. A person who reaches a definite decision or to procure a particular job and make life pay the price he asked does not stake his life on the decision. He stakes his economic freedom, financial independence, riches, desirable business, and professional position are not within reach of the person who neglects or refuses to expect a plan and demand these things. The person who desires riches in the same spirit that Samuel Adams desired freedom for the colonies is sure to accumulate that one. In this chapter, one is planning, colonies here to accumulate wealth. In this chapter on organizing, organized planning, you will find complete instructions for marketing every type of personal services. You will find also detailed information how to choose the employer you prepare and particular job. Okay, all this is the about the chapter number 18 of Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. ओके मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में विद अनदर चैप्टर के साथ चैप्टर नंबर 8 ओके बाय